Greetings, comrades. My name is Gigantles, and there's a few things I'm going to discuss this week. So firstly, the situation in Ukraine. Now, the last video I made about this, in which I said that it's unlikely that we'll enter into nuclear war because of this, as strange as it may sound, I still believe that conclusion is unlikely in this scenario. And I know it may seem a bit strange, especially since how Putin's now annexed Zaporizhia and Kherson. I don't know how to pronounce those names properly. He's annexed those, even though, and he's after. Well, he's technically annexed Donetsk and Luhansk already, thanks to the presence of the separatists and everything. But he's trying to make this all formal now and official, and saying that they're all part of Russia. But in spite of that, and in spite of him apparently moving missile systems over to his border with Europe, thanks to Finland and Sweden wanting to join NATO, and then the gradual increase of NATO troops along Eastern Europe. Regardless of all that, I still don't think that nuclear war is a likely scenario. It may seem, I know it may seem naive or gullible to you, but I still have some faith that there's the right people who are doing something about this. And I'm not trying to sound evil or wishing for someone's death, but I'm sure that there's a team out there of people, whether they are politicians who are maybe in the Kremlin, somewhere in the basement, who are planning a coup to overthrow Putin, or if maybe there's a bunch of assassins out there who are getting ready to overthrow Putin and his inner circle to try and bring forward a more democratic power in control of Russia. Or maybe even something miraculous happens and Putin has a sudden change of heart because of the intercession by God and the angels and everything, which I would prefer the third scenario, to be honest, but I still think it's unlikely that we'll be living in a nuclear wasteland in future. It would really suck if that did happen, contrary to all that I said, but it just doesn't seem likely to me. And I'm not saying that I know everything, but I understand why people are paranoid about this and how it could escalate quickly. And it's fine to be paranoid, but I think it's also important to be grounded in reality as well. That we shouldn't let our thoughts wander away too much. So I know that a lot of people out there are scared how this could escalate, but I think we still need to be realistic in how the situation may progress. It's fine to imagine how it may progress and try and avoid the worst possible conclusions, but we should also remember that the real world is real, and there are things that we need to take into account that in our imaginations and paranoid fantasies, or whatever the paranoid fantasy would be called, there are factors in the real world that we don't know of yet and have yet to occur. On the other hand, the other interesting or roughly interesting thing that happened to me this week was an argument that I've been having with a fundamentalist for several days. I think he stopped a couple of days ago, I'm thankful for. And it was with me on my page and a friend of mine in a group that they were both in, and he was sharing my content. So this fundamentalist had a really strange argument talking about how Jesus, you know how Jesus' name ends in US? Well, he says that appeared in the Greek, and it was a dedication, and it's a sign that Jesus was named after Zeus, and Jesus's actual name is Yehoshua or something like that. And I actually thank this fundamentalist, because the amount of research I had to do in encountering this guy made me realize just how important an understanding of multiple languages and their grammatical rules, whatever, how important it was to know them. I will make a video about it and some posts because it's quite interesting. But long story short, Jesus' name in Aramaic or Hebrew would be Yeshua, not Yehoshua. And the reason why is because although Joshua, his name in the Bible is Yehoshua, between the naming of Joshua and the naming of Jesus, which is almost 1,500 years apart, the name Yehoshua contracted to become Yeshua. And then there are certain letters and pronunciations of syllables in Greek that don't exist in Hebrew. So when they were trying to tell the Greeks about when they were trying to tell the Greeks about Yeshua, there was a transliteration attempt which resulted in Yeshua becoming Jesus. And the US at the end of the Greek and Latin name, it's just their grammatical rule when it comes to subjective names or something, or as the Latin is, the second declension or something. But the point is, the US, it's nothing more than simply their grammatical rule taking place. You see it with other Latin names such as Flavius, Julius, Augustus, and so on. But just because there's a US at the end of Jesus's name in several languages doesn't mean that he was named after Zeus. Especially since if Saint Constantine was apparently the guy who created this name Jesus, he was Latin. Saint Constantine was Latin, not Greek, and so if he was trying to name Jesus after a god, it wouldn't be Zeus he was naming. It would be Jupiter or Jupiter, since the Romans didn't have J's. But clearly, Jesus's name is not a Yeshupiter or something. So that fundamentalist argument pretty much died when I started investigating the different grammatical rules for names in Hebrew and Aramaic, because they're very similar, and then Greek and Latin. But like I said, I'll make posts and videos about that because it's interesting to see, and it's also important to defend. And I also think that this fundamentalist, my friend was telling me about a fundamentalist he was arguing with a while back. This fundamentalist apparently wrote a book called The Peter Myth, and I think this might be the same guy. But basically, it's the Peter Myth. I think it's the Peter Myth. Basically, in the Peter Myth, he claims that the Catholic Church is descended from a bunch of Pharisees who broke away during the Council of Jerusalem, and they set up a Greek church, which then overshadowed the true church. And his whole argument is just how we're apparently some pseudo church that broke away after the Council of Jerusalem. But it's really stupid because we Catholics abide by the decrees from the Council of Jerusalem, and the decrees were that the Gentile Christians don't have to follow any of the Jewish laws to be considered Christians, because Christianity and Judaism are two different things. But I can make a lot of videos and posts about that in specific, so I'm not going to go too much into it here. But otherwise, for this week, I argued with a fundamentalist Christian about why Jesus isn't named after Zeus. I'll make posts and videos refuting that more in depth later. And I don't think that Russia will start a nuclear war. It just doesn't seem like that would happen. It's fine to be concerned about the situation. It always makes sure that we're careful about our actions, but we shouldn't become so scared that we end up paranoid and are afraid to do the right thing. Because if we're not even prepared to do the right thing when the situation arises, then we've already lost. Otherwise, have a good weekend, all of you. God bless you all. See you in the next video, comrades. Until then.